Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is Tuesday, the 4th of July, 2017, and we're starting a little bit early today. It's actually, well, we're supposed to start at 9. It's currently 10 after 8, which, you know, this stream's only going for about 5 minutes. Yeah, so, turns out that someone had an appointment to do tomorrow morning, so I kind of had to, you know, stop early. And since it's the end of the week, unless I do another day at some point, they have potential to run long, so potentially run long, have to stop early, something gotta give, so decided to start a bit early, and we'll see how long it goes from there. It could end up being the same time, so I might be putting it like, 10 or earlier, but we'll see. We got notes. Hey, Mir. Oh, I didn't see that. Okay, 1 second. We're going to, apparently a news post that came out. Google Plus, huh? Says I'm all caught up, but obviously not, so Patrick. Oh, okay. 4th of July, of course. Okay, so this is not the site I work for. This is Overclock 3D. I work for Peace Perspective. Just to make sure people know that. Okay, so NVIDIA was paper presenting plans to create multi-package GPU complexes. Okay. Okay. So, before I start, we'll discuss a little bit about here. So, I don't know what they're necessarily planning on doing. If it's going to end up being like a multi-GPU sort of thing. We'll have to look at that later on the site. But the thing is that when it comes to GPUs, there's a lot of things that are preventing us from getting faster and faster and faster. And it's not frequency in a lot of cases. Although if you could get a bump in frequency, that would help immensely because that's more work you can do. Same with processors, just more work, right? But a lot of what makes a GPU fast these days is, well, what makes a GPU faster than a CPU in general is just that you have relatively simple cores and a lot of them, right? So instead of having, instead of having a 4-core and 8-core processor where each core is capable of doing a lot of things and is completely separate from one another, GPUs reduce the instruction set quite a bit. There's some intrinsics that have, like, approximations of that, but anyway. And they also save a lot of die space of making them independent. So for NVIDIA, you do 32 instructions at once, and even though it's on different data, the actual instruction, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, has to be the same for all of the warp in NVIDIA's case, the wavefront in AMD's case. AMD is 64 pieces of data per chunk. So the idea is that since you can save space by having, neighboring instructions be the same, just on slightly different data, which makes sense because let's say you're talking about a screen. Well, what's going on in this pixel it's probably very similar to what's going on in that pixel. Those two right there, right? And so forth. So there's 2 million pixels in 1080p. As long as you have less than 2 million processors, you can do them all at once, right? And it's going to be less than that, of course, because there's bounding boxes. You're not going to be rasterizing a triangle that's, you know, can only potentially be here. By looking at a pixel over there, you're not going to do that. You're going to be looking at bounding boxes. You get the idea. Various optimizations, but yeah, the idea is that neighboring instructions are going to be very similar, and therefore they designed the chip around making it so that you can do a lot of neighboring instructions at the same time, just blow through them, right? And therefore, as you get more and more and more processor, like more and more cores, stream units, stream processors, whatever, you can do more at once, and therefore you'll have that level increase in performance. Ideally, there is some overhead and stuff like that compounds. But a lot of the issues, like we said, for, you know, number of pixels on screen at 1080p, as long as you have less than 2 million CUDA cores, you can theoretically be, you know, max. I mean, depends on how many, depends on how big the triangle is, but you get the idea. Or for vertices on a mesh, there's 20,000 of them, let's say. Well, just send one to each, and you're good, and they'll have the same instruction done to it, right? And so forth. Again, I'm glossing over some things, like, you know, some constructions will never occur because they're out of range or whatever, but yeah. Now, if it's a post-process effect, it'd be the entire screen, but it's not important. Right, so there's that. But we're limited as well by how big of a chip we can make, because they're done with lithography methods. You actually, like, you know, shine light on it and, you know, basically etch silicon and add some stuff and get the idea. There's a big process. Intel has a good animation on it called sand and silicon. I think it was sand and silicon. Yeah, they have a good one here. So this video right here. Actually, you know what? Intel probably would Intel care if I did it? Oh, what they won't care is the PDF. Right, there is an accompanying PDF for it. I can just show that. So they, you know, show the various techniques to get the chip etched, you know, ion implementation, remove the photoresist, and then they etch the transistors, make the gates, etc., 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 etc. There's a lot of steps going into making a processor. Then you add the metal layers and so forth. Yeah. So one of the issues is actually this step right here. So where you take a template and you shine, in this case UV light. They're actually using extreme, or going to start using extreme UV light soon. They've been trying to do that for a while and it's just never taken off, but yeah. I think they're saying like 10 nanometers is going to be necessary, but there's only so big of a chip that you can make with this method, right? And have it be reliable. As you get further and further, it's going to get blurred out and you're going to have errors. And the more errors you have from a big chip, first off, if it's a big chip and you have errors on it, let's say you have on a wafer 10,000 errors. Actually, let's say 100 errors. And you can make 300 chips. Or sorry, if you make 300 chips, then, you know, a third, maybe a quarter or a fifth of them are going to be, you know, overlapping with critical errors. If you can make 3,000 chips, you'll still only have 100 errors, so you can make, you know, 10 times, you know, that, or you have a 1/10 the number of, well, same number of dead chips, but, you know, I should have thought this through ahead of time, but I mean, I obviously couldn't because it just was... Anyway. Yeah, so we're limited by the size of the chip based on the production method. And as they get better at certain nodes, like at certain transistor sizes, feature sizes, then they're starting to get more accurate and have less errors over time, but then they shrink it down further and they have to kind of start the process over again. So, one thing that AMD has been doing with their CPUs, with their Infinity Fabric, is they've been kind of stringing a bunch of, with their high-end CPUs, like their Threadripper and their Epic EPYC, sorry. They've been stringing multiple chips together to make more cores without having to make a bigger single chip, because you can just take multiple chips at work and string them together in one package. With in that case, it would be PCIe lanes, and have it be, you know, there'd be higher latency between the modules than if they were on the same die, but if that's low enough, then you can get twice, 4 times, however many more chips into one product and have them kind of work together. There's a bit of an issue when you have, you know, scheduling and all that crap, but that's all a side issue. So maybe that's what NVIDIA is doing, or this thing is saying they're gonna do. Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah. That's exactly what they're trying to do, apparently. Now the question I have is, are they going to expose this to, not OpenGL and DirectX 11, because you can't. It's just the API doesn't know what to do with it. But I'm wondering if they, for DirectX 12 and Vulkan, if they're going to expose each module as a separate, or OpenCL for that matter, even though OpenCL is merging into Vulkan. If they're going to expose it as individual modules, as individual graphics devices, or if they're going to just have them all be one package and you have to treat them as one package. That would be easier because you don't have to worry about the game doing multi-GPU support. Because it would just work, but then you have some overhead that you have to worry about. Whereas if you give access to the game could just make sure that the GPUs don't have to talk to each other. And also, it doesn't matter just by the nature of how it's set up, because if they have each access to their own RAM, then as long as you can combine it later and down the pipe, whatever you do, that should work. Anyway, this is obviously something I haven't really heard of much. Mir just said it, like, when we started the stream. Now you do have the problem, of course, of you still have to power all those dies. You don't get free power by adding that in. You're adding in extra, like you're making a bigger circuit, even though you don't have to print it off in one shot. You can do 4 different. You can cherry pick 4 different parts that would go together. You're still powering all 4 parts, so you will have to put a lot of power into these things. I say 4 because of this here, and also because of Epic. But if they can make it happen and appear as one graphics device, then you could theoretically get way more performance out of each GPU, although you'd be paying more for it because you'd have to buy 4 dies. And honestly, I'm guessing this is probably going to be more for, GP100, that kind of class of parts. I'm not sure if it's going to make it down to gaming. because holy crap, right? That would be an expensive GPU. You'd be essentially buying the expensive part of 4 video cards and sticking it all in one, right? That's kind of the expensive part of it, right? This has to be for pro graphics. Not pro graphics, like scientific computing and AI and stuff like that. The people that wouldn't mind writing a $15,000 check, right? For one product. And 10% hypothetical monolithic GPU. So I say less than 10%, or like at 10% overhead. It's not too bad. I can see how this would be helpful if you have, like, if one GPU can do 1080p really well, if you have 4 of them, theoretically you can do 4K really well, right? As long as the overhead doesn't add up. Yeah. So, is there anything you want to know about it, Mir, or you just want to ask my general opinion? Like, I don't think it's going to come to gaming anytime soon because one GPU is expensive enough, right? Having 2 or 4 of them. And since they show it with HBM, that should tell you what they're aiming at. You'd be having like $1,500 to $2,000 GPUs probably for that. Just off the top of my head, right? It's not. I'm not basing on anything. I'm just saying, like, if a Titan costs $1,000, take the expensive part and quadruple it, and then guess what they can try to sell it for, right? They probably couldn't sell it for anything less than $1,500, $200, or $1,500, $2,000. Anyway, so it's probably like scientific graphics. Anyway, let's get on to the project. So where we stopped last time? Okay. So now a question on Blender assets. Keep hearing that if you're trying to listen to object made in Blender for cities, guidelines can help increase FPS. It's always the case. If you have less polygons, you're going to have high performance. How is this translated? Check it. Check it's an interesting story in a good way. So the idea is that the question was poly counts and performance. The more polygons you have, the more data needs to be pushed through the GPU, so the more data you have to store on RAM, the more vertices that the rasterizers would have to process, even though I'm not so sure how much it would matter these days. It's mostly resolution dependent from what I understand, but I'm not really into that part of it. It'd be interesting thing that I could probably ask, like, you know, on Twitter, like Tim Sweeney or whatever, see what he thinks about that sort of stuff. But yeah, so if you're adding more data, more unique data, you can't just, you know, cross out because you're adding higher poly counts. If you add more data, it's going to slow you down because you have more data to process, right? As for check it, our poly counts are really low. Really low. Like, really low. I'll show you right here. There, like, the house I've been sloppy on, but apart from that, like, let's look at let's look at here. So this is all this geometry here, all that nice stuff. And if you look at it in wireframe mode, that's a skybox. I actually can't even see it because it's so low. Yeah, here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. We're able to count the polygons, right? Whereas a lot of games are more like this. Right? This is tessellated. Come on, there we are. So it's tessellated, so, I mean, this is fine because the engine actually generates the higher polygon counts depending on the camera range. So as you get closer, it tessellates more. As you get further back, it undoes it. But like even the tile here, polygon, polygon, couple bevels, couple bevels, couple bevels, couple bevels, right? It's not really a whole lot of polygon count. As a matter of fact, I should be able to actually show the polygon count. Can't remember which stats it's in though. Stats, advanced. Is that GPU? No. Stats. Alright, Shy, is it? So we're drawing 2 million triangles there. What is it? How do I just show that down? Okay, so if we're actually looking at the game, oh, that's right, I can start the game. So if we're actually looking at the game here, you know, actually more than I thought. Is that per second or is that per frame? Huh. That can't be right. Windows promo stats. Okay. Anyway, like, that's pretty high, huh? Weird. Okay, so stack mesh triangles. Yeah, so this is more like it. This is 50,000 here, so let's see in here. So at far zoom, we're about 140,000 with all our decoration meshes. A lot of that's tiles. How much is a tile again? I'll hide that for a second. 1 second. I mean, this is not bad at all, but still curious how much. So it should be only 300 triangles per tile. Now we have 49.6 of them, so 1 times 2 because the aura is the same mesh, so 600 times 49.6. Yeah, that's 2.5 million triangles. If you can see the entire board at once. But that's still not bad at all. Like the Xbox 360 back from 2005 was able to do 1 million. So that should tell you something about the polygon count. But still, I mean, ours is handmade, you know, objects that are pretty like cubical. Like, there isn't a whole lot of stuff. I mean, again, I was sloppy on the houses, but if I was a bit better than that, I, you know, would have been better. But like, this is a what am I doing? Argot wireframe. What was it again? Oh, there we are. Yeah, so you can see here, like, this mesh is, you know, 2, 4, 6, 8 triangles. Then there's another 8 down here, another 8 on the side there. This part here is huge, just 2 triangles, and so forth, right? In cities, there is a lot of talk about dropping stock trees from around 256 to 182, and there's about a 10% increase. But how many trees are there, right? When you start adding that up, it starts being a problem. If it's like, you know, if there's like 1,000 trees on screen at any given time, that's 250,000 triangles, right? So if you can drop it down to, you know, 1/5 of a million, then that's going to help you out quite a bit. And actually, even then, that's not really that much. Let's see. So some people use 30,000 per characters. And that's skinned as well. Oh, I should mention skinned is different. Oh, that could also be one problem too. Are those trees animated? Because when you start animating objects, then poly count comes like, a lot more becomes a lot more necessary. Because, especially if it's not GPU accelerated, if it's CPU accelerated, you have to have a CPU go through all the vertices, that can be a big hit. Oh, the trees are animated. Okay, that could be a big hit, right? And I'm getting sent a Google Drive link. Yeah, okay. So here is the image from that. There's probably like 300 trees in the screen at a given time. And then you have to have a CPU go through each of these to animate them. Unless they're using GPU skinning for that. Thanks, Mir. Yep. So if they use a GPU, either a vertex shader or a compute shader, to animate the trees, and it probably won't matter that much. But if you're using CPU, which a lot of people still do these days, not as much as you think. A lot of times they use GPU skinning, and they scan the skeletons. Then it could be a problem, right? And then if you have more vertices, that could be bad. Because not only do you have more data to go through, you're sending that data through the CPU. And the CPU has a lot of stuff to do. So that could be it. I'm just kind of spitballing this point. Polygon counts are not that bad. It's way over 1 million is common these days. Way over 1 million. Stat title. There we are. Okay. Yeah, no problem. Okay, so what do we need to do again? Today, we needed to re-import to get the material correct here because we have a 4th material channel now. That'll be a quick fix. So we're going to re-import that, then we're going to make new materials, and we're going to copy it around. All over here, we're going to mirror it over there. Not literally mirror, we're going to actually move it by hand, but And if we have time, which we might not after what happened earlier. Not on stream, but like when I said that I have to stop early. I wasn't talking about the question. That's good. But I said to stop early for something. Something with my girlfriend and doctor appointments. It doesn't really involve me that much. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Way too much for stream. So yeah, we're going to re-import both of these. Fixing fixing this. Okay. Oh, we did include it. We just didn't actually assign the polygons to it. It's a very simple process. Oops. Very simple process. You just select all the relevant triangles. And then you go here, assign. And you do that for every window. And then once we're satisfied, we can oops. Oh, come on. So I'm going to have this window frame be the larger one, but the smaller one will be here. If you're wondering how do I know when I start, I am counting in my head, and once we get close, I'm going to start doing the select and deselect thing to see whether I have any polygons that have not yet been assigned. Just kind of the lol, I'm doing my best method. We don't need to actually remap them, it's just changing the material ID. Count wrong? So I got 2 windows left. Okay, I definitely did count wrong then, but sure, why not? Apparently, if you're looking to hire me for something, don't have counting to 16 as part of my job description. I know I didn't actually try to count to 16. I was surprised when I saw one was already assigned. Okay, so now deselect all, then select. Oh. Even though those polygons wouldn't exactly be visible to the camera, because the camera can't look up, it would be a glitch. Oh. The ones on the top would have been visible though, because it was... Okay. Saved, and we will go object mode, deselect all, select, export FBX. Then we'll overwrite this. Make sure we only click selected objects, so we don't re-import all of the level geometry again. Save again. Go to Unreal Engine, import. I was going to use the Blender hotkey, but anyway, now we see that the window wants to have its own material because we have a new material channel. So for the time being, we're going to you know what? Sure. Duplicate M voxel house wood siding. Then we're going to increase the brightness a little bit. Maybe I should shift a little bit. Let's try that. Okay. So now we're going to add that to that. Oh no. No, we have some more things to do. This should be that. Shoot. Right, okay. More fixing to do. Okay. Again, another easy fix. It's the same thing as we did last time, just we had it on the wrong one. We started in the back right corner, okay. Should probably start the right door so I have something to kind of focus on. No. Let's try to use a hotkey to select all coplanar. Thought Alt would do that. Somebody that thought Alt on face, when you click on face, it would select coplanar. No. And if I would have cleaned up my polygon count from when I was making the windows, it would have been a lot easier, but I didn't. So I have to live with it, right? The inside doesn't matter, okay. I didn't think on the inside I had a frame because you can never get inside the house, so why would I have had a frame there? But just make sure. Well, you probably can clip inside the house with the camera I have now, but I'm intending to block it at some point. $800 triangles versus 162. Yeah, that'd make a big difference. Yeah. But yeah, anytime you can reduce your data set. So, that's a good point. So, how you optimize games and stuff like that is you want to operate on as little data. You want to do as little on as little data as possible and still get the right results, right? I had a better way of describing it earlier when I actually typed it out, but so a lot of optimization comes around from shrinking your data sets, making data sets contiguous, so that way when you pull a memory in from main memory, you can use prefetch to get a big chunk at any given time, and then out of order helps as well, and so forth. Yeah, so you want to optimize to minimize memory access. You want to operate on as little data as possible. You want to do as little to it as possible, right? So if you have less vertices and less data, then yeah, you're going to end up saving performance because you're doing less work and still accomplishing a result that, if the two look equivalent, it's equivalent, right? Now, if that drop from 800 triangles to 162 triangles ends up giving a really noticeable graphics drop in quality, well, congratulations, you save performance to reduce your visual quality. That's kind of obvious, right? But yeah. So that's really all optimization is. You try and do as little as possible on as little as possible without fetching as much as you can. One second while I blow my nose. The allergy season this year just won't want to let up for some reason. Which is weird, because I didn't really usually have allergies as a kid. I had some, mostly in the winter for some reason. Winter allergies, I don't know what it was, but it was. But yeah, it got a lot worse in the last little bit. I think it's, oh, I'm going the wrong way. Not gonna touch that mirror, although you're scientifically fairly accurate. There's actually a Rooster Teeth comic where Gus had allergies and he was outside cursing at trees, and the trees were in an interesting position. That's all I'm gonna say. I mean, it's a Rooster Teeth comic, it's not like, you know, it's probably safe for work, but yeah. Back when they used to make comics with Griffin and Luke McKay, what's his name? I think it's Luke McKay, Canadian. Yeah, so Benadryl does help a lot of it. To control it, I usually take Advil Cold and Sinus, which is the same. It's not exactly the same as Benadryl, but it's 25 milligrams of antihistamine. So, like a Benadryl. A Benadryl one would be. And again, if I would have cleaned up my polygon count, I would have had a lot less to click on, but I was lazy yesterday. The moral of the story is, if you're going to be lazy when doing 3D modeling, or really anything, you're probably going to pay for it later. And I know that moral, but I still did it anyway, and now I'm paying for it later. Cut corners. I mean, I still had to do some tedious work, but it would be on fewer polygons. But yeah, for modern video cards do a lot of... And as a matter of fact, I can show you how much video cards can do when it comes to fragment fill rate. The problem is, I'm not exactly sure how many pixels a single triangle occupies on the screen on typical workloads. I think AMD had a style guide at one point, and it was like, keep it above 15 or something, because their tessellation engine wasn't as good. Oh, the restoration wasn't as good. And it was good enough for a lot of games that people were thrashing it, so AMD was like, listen, you're hammering something we don't have a whole lot of. If you want to get better performance in our computers, you know, stop hitting yourself right here, right? It actually reminds me of CryEngine. I think it was CryEngine 2 or Crysis 2. People were accusing NVIDIA of paying Crytek to manipulate the benchmarks because there was always an ocean. Even in the middle of a city, there was always an ocean. And it was fully tessellated. So it was hammering a tessellation engine for geometry you can't actually see because it was under the street. The ocean under the street. Seems kind of bad, but then I was looking at the... Well, I heard this earlier, but then I was also looking at Lumberyard documentation, CryEngine documentation as well. And it was like... for CryEngine 3, there was always an ocean plane in every level. You actually can't remove it. Lumberyard removes it by setting it to like 100 kilometers underground. And some good songs. I need to do this guy here as well. I'm gonna start on the right side of the door. So I start from the door and go counterclockwise. Now we're gonna check. Make sure these are all assigned to 25 centimeters. Bingo. Not sure I like that. And by not sure, I mean I don't like that. Ah. Oh, that's broken. Oh well. Yeah, let's fix it.
Party. Party.
Even though it's inside. Not quite degenerate.
Party. Party.
Come on.
Party.
Come on. There.
Party. Party.
So you can see all these artifacts. Go away.
Party.
There's still some artifacts in here, like this is not lining up right, but that's okay. There we are. Couldn't tell if it was negative 12.5 or positive 12.5 to make these line up correctly. I think I'm actually going to drop down its saturation a little bit. Which is a different color. Yeah. Hey, sweet Henrik. Just trying to figure out an art style. Yeah, let's try that. Let's mess with the trim after. So Mirror is suggesting red with white trim. Let me pack on. Not working? Hey, welcome to the chat, everyone. 87 Stone Killer and others. Correction mirror, a moat with 4 waterfalls. Come on. Oh, because there's no pond nearby. Right. Bot number 5 is just reporting in. Thanks, Stone Killer, even though you're clearly not a bot. Yeah, I'm not a fan of this color scheme at all. Fountain. So as I was saying last time, this is going to be a weather vane. And maybe not to start off with, because this is going to be quite a bit of work, but I was hoping to have the weather vane actually have something that turns. And be driven by a global variable just somewhere. That would be the wind direction. And as the weather vane turns, I was hoping to make each of the waterfall emitters, so like the fountain and the waterfall, add a constant force on a physics tick to each of the blocks as they're falling, varying based on the direction. So as the weather vane turns, the waterfall would blow in a different direction. Something very subtle, people wouldn't really notice necessarily, but because they can't really see the weather vane and the waterfall at the same time. They might notice with a fountain, but maybe not, because there's not a lot there. But it'll be a subtle touch that would be kind of for that. That's the kind of detail I like putting in the game, although probably not for initial itch.io launch. So yeah, there's that there. And this is the 4th and final waterfall. They shut off when the clone is not nearby, as you saw when I tried to simulate it, for performance. So you don't have to render all those physics simulations. Now thinking going back to the kind of Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past-ish color scheme. This guy's kind of good. Good for you. And then for the trim, probably. Come on, there we are. I actually really like that. So what is that? That's 16.55 and 835 there. try this. Weird. Okay. Sorry, I was just boxing with the UI there. That's pretty good. Okay, now I'm going to okay, save current for now. Oh, we didn't do something. When is Bannerlord? No idea. So now, trim, we're going to duplicate his asset. Trim, 12p5. And then we're going to apply it there. So that's good enough for now. I'm gonna probably change the materials around a little bit. The part that concerns me is this is when it's lit, so I might have over darkened it. Maybe, or under darkened it, I should say. Because the light's pretty heavy. We'll see that later, but first we need to go back into Blender. Save this, then go into 4x4 house and redo everything we just did to the 4x4 house. Because it has all the same bugs. We can reselect some of the ones we already did before, so I'm just gonna do that. What? No, you. There we are. We're getting very close. After I make this, I'm just gonna be duplicating it a bunch. Then we got the weather vane, we got the cathedral, and we got the castle wall, and that should be it for the demo. Well, for this level. Then we gotta go to King's Court, I think it was. I can't remember my own level name. And yeah.
Attention citizens. Please commence from 1399. Proceed instantly to the center. Thank you.
Oh, what am I even doing? I only want to select the cross because we're doing a 12 right now. Actually, I don't know what they're saying in the song. It sounds like Justice, Bird, and Feather. So, back up. Sorry, I am. No, it's a IMU, sorry. Haywire IMU lyrics. Justice, Bird, and Feather, okay. Separate but together. Okay, gotcha. Cool, cool.
I am you.
Turn around, I can't see your face. Tell me, where did you go? Was it something I did, something I said that made it all fall down? Baby, I need to know.
Should I just remove my movement legit? I don't need it. All it's doing is getting in the way. No.
Where's my happy ending? Can't go on pretending anymore. But always said that love takes work.
So we got 3 more to do. Hey Big O, welcome to the chat. And if anyone's new, I'm not ignoring you. I'll say hi, welcome to the chat. But I avoid referring to people by name until they talk in chat. Because sometimes people lurk and I don't want to call them out. But I figure, hey, if you talk in chat, you know you're gonna be in the on the chat replay. Might as well, you know. I guess that means you don't mind being on a recording of some sort. So I'll refer to you by name, unless you, of course, officially, like, explicitly say not to. But it's kind of my policy, so I try to at least. Because if you're lurking, you know, I don't want you to get bugged by people, especially if you're a popular streamer or something. So it's not them ignoring you. Download Blender, surprise it's such a small download, yeah. I mean, it's a couple hundred megabytes, but yeah. For these days, that's actually pretty small. Especially considering what they're doing in, like, the Blenders Institute seems to, the Best for Blender Foundation seems to have the policy of, hey, this could be useful in Blender, let's add it, right? And then just everything goes pretty much. Up. That's why you double check. So I'm looking to see if anything's not orange colored. Nope, looks like it is. Okay. Now we gotta add the trim. Which is 25 centimeter base and door. Let's start with the door side. Here's door. So just array a door and go around counterclockwise. If there was a way I could do with box selection, I would, but it would just catch too much. I thought there was a select coplanar command. Control Shift Alt F. This is one ugly hotkey, but sure. Second. Okay then, sorry about that. Oh. Well, certainly makes it a lot quicker. Especially when we start getting these degenerate ones. One thing I'm wondering. Okay. So it considers all selected ones, not just the active one. Okay. So the active one is this guy here that's kind of shaded slightly different. I guess all I gotta do is select one of each side. And then do bam. It's a lot quicker. We got 2 more left. Whoop. Blender's that thing where if you come off one side of the screen, it comes out the other, so you can constantly continually scroll. But if you do that just slightly, then you lose your mouse cursor because it's on the other side of the screen. That's what just happened. I mean, you immediately know what happened. It's not something that's really confusing, but you know, thought it'd be interesting to mention. Okay. Selected objects, make sure you select that. I should see some. And bingo. 1 second. Sorry about that. Okay, so now we got all that squared away. Now it's just a matter of duplication, so let's grab you. That lined up perfectly, which makes sense because I snapped it to the 50s. I do 90. Make sure that this goes like that. Now, what will the main street be here? I'm guessing this one and this one, so I'll move these two down and then rotate them 180. I think I missed by one. Oh, no, that's right. So this is the main street, and then this group of 4, like that. And then we will replicate that over here as well. I wanted this to be shops and stuff like that, but meh. I also wanted the game to actually come out, so something's gotta give. Wait a minute. Oh, okay, I just didn't add the road. There we are. Right, okay. Now, this is gonna be a main road, it's gonna be a main road. So this needs to be, there we are. Other way around. I'm probably putting way too much thought into it, but I'm thinking that for a longhouse, have the door open up towards the main entrance, so people don't have to walk all the way around to get into it. Even though no one's gonna walk into it, it's a fake space. And these ones probably wouldn't want to have their back onto the main door for privacy and stuff like that. Even though no one's gonna live in there. It's a fake model level. We're gonna save, and then we're gonna build our lighting, and that should be it for today. And we'll work on the Weather Vane, Cathedral, and Castle over the next little while. For now, we're gonna build. And while we're doing that, we're gonna make sure we don't have any issues. No, it looks like it's gonna be fun. I'm not gonna roll it up for you, don't worry. Oh, I guess I should say that. For people that are not Canadian, Tim Hortons has prizes under the rim. like it's thinking 1 in 6 get a chance to win something. Usually a donut, a coffee, or potato wedges. They do offer up to what's it for this one? This is for Canada Day. It's not usually one.
You can be the stars for
Top prize is a vacation. But there's also like gift cards and stuff like that.
like the sky so I can see. Tell
Right.
me something I don't know. Take me where I never go. I wanna know what it'd be like to disappear.
Won bagels every day this month at Panera Bread. I only won 1 donut so far, and I've had quite a few coffees. This one is a dark roast. Yep. Dark roast triple, which not the most healthy out there. So don't use that to judge my taste in coffee. I drink many different types of coffee: black coffee, espresso, double, triple, 3 cream, no sugar. There's a bunch of different types I have. It depends on what I feel like at any given time. So yeah, today was triple. That doesn't mean any given day it is. And it's dark roast today, yeah. Although usually I have plain, like their regular roast, medium roast, whatever. I've seen homemade cold brew kits there, Mir. But obviously yours would be, yeah. I've seen it made, but I obviously don't know what yours specifically is. Mostly black with sugar or espresso, yeah.
Waste your nights in bars, but save the last drink for me.
So I was kind of hoping to go for something kind of like
You scatter like the gun.
this aesthetic with the
It gets late again, like I'm supposed to know.
with the houses.
Oh, but it doesn't work.
Hoping it kind of looks somewhat like this for the coloring, not this, obviously.
I want you until the end. You could be the stars.
Yours is cheaper, requires canning jars, yeah. Some I've seen look like moonshine stills. It's nuts, but yeah.
Show me that you love me like the stars so I can see. You can be the stars, you can be the stars for me.
And Sean doesn't drink coffee. For the most part, I didn't until like last year or 2. But I have a Tim Hortons like 5 minutes away now. Well, okay. On my typical daily walk, I pass by 3 Tim Hortons and 4 Subways. So there's a lot of Tim Hortons around here. I mean, it's Canada. And hopefully the lighting will build. I mean, it will build, but hopefully it will save the build. Because if we can't save it, it's not going to really do much, right?
You can be the stars for me.
And after that, we're going to call it a day, because it's, it's been almost 2 hours. Even though the first little bit was talking about GPUs. Oh, we also have to do the castle wall here. The external walls.
You're the superstar above me when the sun goes down. The one and only who could light this town.
What would I say a learning curve is for Unreal Engine? Okay, so, depends, right? The learning curve is not going to matter as much on the engine as much as it's going to matter on the project, right? Probably I can give you a better answer if you tell me what your intended project would be. I might be able to help you a bit better with that. Because I don't think your actual question is, I mean, unless you're just trying to make conversation, that's fine. But I don't think your question, if it's, you know, trying to get something out of it, if it's the learning curve of the engine, I think your question is something else, like, will it be easy for the project I'm considering, or whatever. So I probably would need to know more about the project to understand and give you a better answer that would actually fill your actual need, right? As for the engine, I love the engine, of course. Obviously, you know, I use it here. There's a lot of things it does really nice for you, especially with networking. And a lot of that stuff, it really abstracts C++, so you can still use C++, but the header tool and the build tool, and a lot of the way it's just set up, makes a lot of the nasty parts of C++ you just don't have to deal with. Just doesn't exist. Is Unreal Engine mainly... This is a different question from a different person, from Big O. Is Unreal Engine mainly for FPS, or can you do like a flight or racing sim with it? It gets for anything. Modern engines these days aren't really baked to any given project. As you can see right now, we're doing a turn-based strategy in it, right? They have been making the API as general as possible, such that anything that's gameplay logic and project code would be on you, right? So, yeah, it would be fairly independent of whatever project you want. That said, if you're doing something like, let's say, Mario Galaxy, then Unreal Engine really wants gravity to be pointing down, down Z. You really can't do a whole lot of stuff when it comes to, like, you know, pockets of gravity and stuff like that. I mean, you can. There's been projects that have done it, but you'd be fighting the engine a little bit. They're trying to make it more general for that, but obviously it's not one of their major priorities, because how many Mario Galaxy-style games are there, right? So if you're doing it, you're going to be redoing a lot of stuff in your own, but for when it comes to, like, you know, flight sim, racing sim, strategy, that's all project code. That's all your code. You can, you know, use some templates to get you further there, but William Cheer Stream, yes, I have. And also Jessica Mack, I believe her name is friends with, well, isn't there streamers I watch as well. It's been a while since I watched either of their streams, unfortunately, because I've just been had enough time. Actually, to be honest with you, I haven't really watched much GDQ this week either. Even though it's only been open running for a couple days, I normally like have that running all the time. I haven't had time for it. But yeah, I have Jessica Mack and William. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Is it Cheers? I have their stream set to email me when he goes live. When they both go live, I should say. There's another guy I used to watch as well, although he's been mostly playing games recently. It's a game dev something. But yeah, I've seen their streams. Manifold Garden's getting pretty close. It looks really interesting. But again, it's been a while since I've really took a big, long look at it because, you know, just haven't had a lot of time to watch a lot of streams. Does not say I haven't watched a lot of videos. I've been watching a surprising amount of anime lately. But, yeah. Super Bright for Manifold Garden, yeah. Looks very interesting. If you like kind of the quantum conundrum, or, you know, what would be a better example of that one? I'm sure he probably wouldn't like us comparing it to other games. Well, I mean, I probably wouldn't care. But, yeah, what was the other one? That puzzle game that really messes with your head. Yeah. It's a puzzle game. I'll just say that much, right? It looks interesting. Oh, right, so comparing Unity in general, I guess, trying to get into 3D game dev, decent understanding of Java and C. Yeah, compared to Unity, there are some things Unreal Engine does better than Unity, there are some things Unity does better than Unreal Engine. I like Unreal Engine, I've used both right now. There are some things that Unity just does easier. It's just easier for them to do it. Like they're changing, and like I said, Unreal Engine is changing this, Epic's changing this. But if you want to do things with processing like audio on a sample by sample basis, it's a lot easier to do it in Unity. However, like if you want to do occlusion's way easier in Unreal Engine. I was looking at trying to optimize some occlusion in a Unity project, and there was just like voxels being all over the place. And Unreal Engine, it's like, yeah, it does it automatically on a frame-by-frame basis, right? You just don't deal with it; it just does it for you, right? I mean, there is some occlusion stuff, but yeah. Typically speaking, you just make your level, and Unreal Engine does it for you, right? Compute shaders, Unity seems to have that way down. I'm actually trying to get into that a little bit. That's why I kind of started doing a demo in Unity versus Unreal Engine lately. A little side project I was doing, making heads explode. But don't worry, they're cartoon. But, yeah, so that would be Unity for that. Epic knows, and they want to extend the ability to handwrite shaders, especially compute shaders, but it's just not there yet. C++ versus C#. I usually like to, back off on these sorts of, like, this versus that sort of thing, because it really comes down to whatever you want to use it for and whatever you're comfortable with and whatever, whatever, blah, 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 whatever. That said, C++ versus C#, I much prefer C++ in a lot of different ways. It's quite especially when you deal with, like, Epic's version of C++, which is kind of a subset with a bunch of macros. I can visualize what C++ is going to do a lot better than I can visualize what C# is going to do. There's a lot of times where I'm doing something where it's like, oh, use a new let's say use a new keyword on C#. It's probably coming from C++, but I'm like, that's putting on the heap. No, it's not. It doesn't. C# could put it on the stack or the heap. It doesn't matter, right? It's up to it, right? But to me, it's like, I want to define my things in such a way that when I leave the scope, it's going to automatically delete itself. C# just does that for you. But it may not, depending on the implementation and so forth. It's like, I don't like that kind of ambiguity. That being said, it's simple, and it runs reasonably well. And the amount of optimization that I'm talking about is like stuff that you won't ever really notice on a profile unless it's something that happens in a lot of loops. But I like writing my code in a way that if I know if I know the basics of it and I know what it's going to roughly do, if I can just move my mind to always write in that way, then I know I'm going to be spitting out optimal code along the way. I don't like being like, well, I'm going to write this, it's going to work, and I'm going to trust that the implementation is going to have it be optimal. Call me a control freak, I don't like that, right? I like being like, okay, this is how it should theoretically work well. just get into a pattern of always doing it like that, and you'll be fine, right? And if you screw up, well, okay, well, you're gonna screw up, and you're gonna, you know, leak memory here, this, that, or your thing, right? Unreal Engine has a garbage collector, but it's, you know. And I mean, you could say the same thing too. Like, for example, if you don't put a U property on, our building is actually going to go really quick now. If you don't put a U property on some elements, like let's say this guy here. No, let's say this guy here. So if I didn't put a U property here, I would start the game, and after a handful of seconds, it would crash. And the reason why is because the garbage collector would be like, "Oh, nothing needs this nothing needs this stack mesh component anymore. I'm going to delete it because no one's referring to it because U property, the tag of U property, lets the garbage collector know that something's still using it." That can annoy some people, but once you know it, you should get in a pattern for it, right? Tabs versus spaces is also a funny topic, yeah. Or the funniest one is the editor environment, Emacs versus Vim. It gets to be a bit of a knife fight when really people are like, oh, this is better, this is better, this is better, this is better, and it's like, just use whatever you want, right? Whatever you use is not going to affect them, so who cares, right? That's when you kind of go into a conversation and say either gedit or Visual Studio and just like, well, there's actually a little meme image of like the Joker burning half the money pile in The Dark Knight and be like, I use Visual Studio, right? Just like, I want to watch the world burn. Vim. Okay. With my physics background, whenever I tackle a game similar to Manifold, I have so many game ideas, it's not even funny. And like I said, actually, I wasn't even really planning on doing Check It. Okay, let's see how it's... I'm not much a fan of lighting. I want to reduce the albedo of these guys here, of these panels. Although I like the roof, and I kind of like actually the windows. I just want the panels to be a bit, probably a little bit less saturated. But I'm trying to make it look somewhat like this. I think it's a little less saturated, a little darker. But yeah. I'm not going to wait for it to compile again, that would be, or for it to build again, that'd be in there like 15-20 minutes. So let's try save. Hopefully it'll save our light map data. Again, if you're new to this channel, and you want me to refer to you by name, speak in the chat, and I'll refer to you. Otherwise, I don't know. Oh, it did save. Yay! Otherwise, I don't know if you're lurking or whatever. So I'm going to want to decrease the albedo on this. Otherwise, looks kind of good. I think it's going to have a... Oh, right, I need to pop out. There we are. Kind of want to have a bit of a miniature vibe to it. So some of these tiles have to tag it so that way it goes up a little bit. Because I don't want you to see inside here like this. This is just ugly. Although I might release it like that initially. Okay, so that's that. At some point we're going to need to add the walls, add the castle, add the cathedral, add the weather vane. Maybe make the direction the weather vane points affect the waterfall direction. But I played Stardew Valley? No, I haven't played a lot of games, unfortunately.
praise and attention. She might want the world, but she might need an intervention. Hey, I ain't really trying to judge you. Low key, girl, I'm cheering for you. Now show 'em how to break the rules. So put on a little perfume. Tell your girls you're running late. Don't forget about your new shoes. You know the ones that work your leg. Ain't a man alive can stop you now. You're a highlight girl. Oh, highlight girl.
Yeah, Mir has played Stardew Valley. That is.
Game is easy.
I've seen people play it. It looks interesting.
Speak freely.
Yeah. So that's gonna be it for today. So gotta say thank you for watching. Man, that Ohoge really wants to be on camera. Right, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time.